Coming up on Theatre Talk.
I was walking down from Times Square, got out of the cab, and this guy goes, "Hey mate, you want a ticket to Hugh Jackman?" I said, "I am Hugh Jackman." And he goes, should have seen the look on this guy's face.
Theatre Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theatre Talk. I'm producer Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, for once you have given me a Christmas present, and he's right here.
Wrapped up in a bow, Susan. I want you to be calm. I want you to be cool. I don't want you to lose it. I don't want you to throw anything at him.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, no.
Sorry, did I just blow the shot?
She's gone, folks,
Did I
for the
throw
rest of the show. You may have recognized our guest tonight. He is a man who is just conquered Broadway with an absolutely terrific one-man show at the Broadhurst. And we are delighted that he joins us tonight on Theatre Talk. Welcome, Hugh Jackman.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's
You've
great
made
to be here.
Susan's decade, I think. I've seen your show now 3 times. I'm a groupie, you know. And
We had a good conversation in one of them.
I
remember because he came in late.
He came in late.
I
that's
arrived
true.
late.
With a new
Deliberate?
friend. He came in late with a new friend of his.
I'd met a new friend that day. And,
Very good, okay.
I brought her to see Hugh Jackman.
That's a great excuse to be late.
One of the things that I've noticed the 3 times I've seen the show is I get the distinct sense, because this is a new thing for you to do, this kind of one-man show, that you are having as much fun, if not more fun, than the audience. This is not a jaded routine. This is not a guy who's been doing this forever. You just seem to be having a ball up there.
I am having the time. It actually feels a little indulgent at times. I'm like, I have this incredible orchestra. I pick my favorite songs, and I literally have picked my favorite songs. There's one thing I decided when I was putting this together was, and I've had a little bit of a wrestle over the years with singing and musical theatre. It's been a little bit of a wrestle for me to come to. So I thought, every time a song starts, I want to go, I can't wait to sing this. So that has genuinely been the thing. So it's kind of ultimate karaoke, really. It's just on Broadway, right? With these incredible dancers and unbelievable lighting and set. And but it's really all the things I love doing.
And you get paid for it for your
Yeah, I'm getting paid for it, you know, which is unbelievable.
When you say you've wrestled, though, with musical theatre, what do you mean by that?
I was an actor. I got it cast in Beauty and the Beast. It was one of the first jobs I got out of college. And at my college, there was a theatre school and a music theatre school. I was in the theatre school, right? So when I went for this audition, it was, you know, in Australia, you go for everything.
Right.
I just snuck in. Literally, I snuck into the part. In fact, it was in my contract to have a singing lesson once a week. They paid for it. I think I'm the only actor.
You were not a comfortable singer? You didn't think of yourself as a singer then?
What? No, I didn't really. I could sing okay, but not. I never was comfortable. In fact, it terrified me. You know, and I could hide behind the character a little bit. I did Beauty and the Beast, and that was fine.
Did you play a knife or a fork? What was the?
I was Gaston. So I kind of, it just took me a while to feel comfortable with it. I kind of did it the wrong way. I cut my teeth professionally, so to speak. So I always felt at the beginning a little bit of a fraud. I was like, oh, I'm getting away with it. So it took me a little while, and then a lot of lessons, and now I feel confident with what I can do and what it is. But so when I was choosing my show, I thought, I really want to sing stuff that I really love, that I enjoy doing, or, you know, that was basically, so yeah.
Well, I saw you in that terrific production, Trevor Dunn's production of Oklahoma at the National Theatre, which kind of launched. Yeah. And I was curious, how come that production, which was so good, never made it over here to New York?
It's a great question, actually, because we were desperate to bring it over. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of heat on the show when we opened.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there were producers who said, we're going to bring it to Broadway. We're going to go to West End for 6 months, then we're going straight to Broadway. And I'd never been to Broadway. I was beside myself. And equity killed it, which I understood there was a whole thing about, you know, having foreigners over there.
Right.
And look, that's a tough sell. I understood. It's a tough sell to your, you know,
an American
equity.
An Aussie playing
that you need to have Aussies in
the
English playing
quintessential
Oklahoma.
American musical is going to be done by
Exactly. It's kind of like bringing, I don't know, Crocodile Dundee, the musical, to Australia with all Americans. It'd be a tough sell.
With Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick.
Exactly. So I got it at the time, and so it sort of fell away. And then, ironically, I got this film in between that time of X-Men, which gave me enough of a profile to be able to get in under some equity rules. And when they could do it, I was contracted to X-Men. So I had X-Men 2 to shoot, so I couldn't do couldn't do.
But now I think you fall in the category of international superstar, which allows you to perform anywhere you want to perform. Right?
You know, I have to say thank you to X because they have been very, very generous to me. But yes, Macau is the only place I have not gone to yet.
Now, when you were putting the show together, you famously did The Boy from Oz, for which you won a Tony Award. Did you know that you wanted to have a Peter Allen segment in this show? I mean, that's becoming sort of your signature Hugh Jackman, Peter Allen bit now.
Partly, a lot of people do say to me, are you going to bring it back? Are you going to bring the show back? And I felt, genuinely, I felt like, you know, that was a great moment and I loved it. The moment's passed. And so, however, I love doing that character. I know people enjoyed it. Some people didn't get to see it. So, and some great music. So, and I figured it's really a great way to actually have some fun, come back and do that. But at the same time, he's an overwhelming character. I actually did a one-man show for Steve Wynn. I opened up the Wynn Casino in 2005. He saw Boy from Oz and said, I want you to come and do it. And the show was okay. It was not great, to be honest. But
was it a Peter Allen kind of show?
I put a little bit of Peter Allen in the back half of it. And all of a sudden the show took off, right? People were like, oh, wow, this is great. And all the other stuff was okay at best, right? I didn't keep much of that. So I was aware of from that I couldn't let it overwhelm the show. So I figured, you know, 10, 15 minutes would be right. Any more of that and Peter can become just...
And you put it in the perfect spot. It's at the top end of the second act. Right. And I found myself wondering, because you finished the first act with soliloquy from Carousel, and it's you in this one place. And I thought, what does he do during intermission? What's his process during intermission? That then, I mean, you change your clothes.
He gets into a tight-fitting gold lame pantsuit, and he's off and running. I mean,
put on the gold.
That's it. That's how it works.
There's the actor's method right there, the process.
You know, I think you've done more to elevate Peter Allen than any of his songs, because he was kind of forgotten before you kind of adopted the Peter Allen persona in Boy from Oz and in the...
Well, interestingly, huge here in New York, and I get many people still to this day. I don't know how many parties this guy did, because I can't tell you how many people he said, oh, he did a garden party for us. I'm like, this guy was prolific. But actually, it was a little bit the same in Australia, because Peter Allen was an icon, but very out there. It was like a, you know, the gay side of his personality, everything. It was sort of difficult for Australians to come to. They loved him.
I saw as a kid with my mother, Liberace. The audience back then knew that they were gay without even coming to say they're gay.
Right.
But your mother still loved him. She would have gone on stage to hold Liberace in her arms. And I think Peter Allen had that kind of effect.
Same thing. And he had that thing of, even in the outback of Australia, even in some of those, you know, tough little, maybe homophobic parts of Australia, you know, back then, particularly in the 70s, loved him. Everybody loved him. You know, he's an outback boy. He was born in this small town in the outback. He used to play in the pub, right, tap dance and sing and play on the piano, and they all kind of loved him. He had that ability to cross over. And he never, I don't think he ever came out and said he was gay on stage, but he would tell those jokes, you know, I know what you're thinking, you know, is he or isn't he? I am Australian. You know, he would do all that stuff, you know.
You are a performer unlike any I've really seen. You are really, as I've written in my column, in that tradition of the great old palace performers. When you put this act together, do you think of yourself in that tradition of those great performers who just command the stage with a winning personality?
No, there's no way. I mean, there's no way I can ever kind of think of myself in that way. I mean, you know, I feel absolutely blessed. Like, I do honestly pinch myself every night getting up there. I'm aware that I have something unique to offer. I'm aware that perhaps my skill set is not common nowadays. And I think that's got a lot to do with growing up in Australia.
Why?
Partly because it's such a small industry that you can't have the luxury of just doing one or two things. You can't say, I'm going to be a movie star. I'm just going to do film. There's only 10 movies made a year. Right. So if you're in one movie a year, you're the most successful actor of all time. You go out with that thing of just say yes to everything. Just say yes to everything. Yeah. And some of the things, thank God, you guys haven't seen. And it's slightly before YouTube, so it's going to be harder to find it.
Give us an example of one you said yes to that you hope never shows up on YouTube.
There was an Australian movie called Man from Snow. Oh, okay, no, this is the worst. I actually, to fill a gap and pay my rent, was a host of a show called In Fashion. There was Melissa Hoyer, who was a fashionista, And then they decided to get a layman, a guy who knew nothing about fashion, to try and make it palatable to other laymen. So there was me going, hi. And then from behind, lots of players. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Today we're going to discuss Valentine's Day and how maybe, Melissa, what do you call this plant? That was literally my shtick. You know? 6 very forgettable episodes.
we gotta dig these up, Susan.
How do you keep your ego down? I mean, you know, you seem like such a pleasant, nice person.
He is a pleasant, nice person.
No, but I mean, but that you know, with all this adulation,
Yeah.
people are. So how do you keep yourself from?
Look, I think like most actors, we're haunted by something, and probably for me, it's every night. It doesn't really matter who's in. People say, like, are you worried about who's in? I go, I don't care, honestly. If it's someone I don't know, or if it's, you know, you guys or Kristen Chenoweth or Barbara Cook, these people who it's the same mountain that I cherish that I dread at the same time. It's that, it's the insecurities of, I hope tonight's a great night. I hope I hit the hole, get the hole in one tonight. It's that same thing that drives me every show, in every production, all the time. It's a blessing and it's a curse, but it keeps sort of driving me. But it's, the trick is not going on the negative side of that and, you know, getting, it was a terrible show and just enjoying it.
Right.
And at the same time, I can't believe really I'm getting the opportunity to do it. I mean, honestly, on Broadway every night, singing my favorite songs, having the time. I stop the show every now and then. We chat, I do whatever. I feel very much at home on stage, and I feel very lucky for that. The moment I step on stage, I feel very much at home. But I wrestle the same with everybody else. Every night I want it to be.
Do you have, we had Frank Langella not too long ago, and I said, you know, what happens, Frank, when you just feel the night's off or the audience isn't with you? And he showed us this little trick that he does. He said, this is what I do. This is what he does. He said, and just as you get quiet, and what's coming next? He said, the audience gets down, they begin to move in, and you start again.
You know, that's a great lesson. I actually probably do a slightly similar thing, because there's some nights where you go in, particularly a show like this, which is entertainment, and it's fun, and it's a perfect time of year for it, because people want that. And that's, I want people to have a great night. It's not Medea, you know, I want people to go in. And there's times where you go in, you feel like, oh, I'd much rather be watching Medea, or just be at home, you know. And actually, it was my wife who kind of reminds me of this, because she studied here at the American Academy, and she said, go from where you are. If you're grumpy, just start with grumpy. If you're tired, start with that. Just be present. Like Frank says, it's the same thing. Just start from that, and actually, it's amazing what happens. Then this kind of communal energy builds up. The mistake, and I used to make this mistake, the mistake is, oh my God, I'm feeling tired. Oh, people are going to hate the show. It's going to be terrible. I've got to somehow and you fight it to try and get some kind of false energy. Like, hey, we're all having a great time, and then it becomes like the worst party you've ever been to.
And I think the audience, I think the audience can sense when it's fake.
Without a doubt.
When you come out there, maybe not even know, but if they come out there with their eyes like this and you're really jump-starting going to go, I think that there's something that feels off about it. You have a lovely anecdote in the show about your father. If you just tell us about the trip to Carnegie Hall with your father, and then I want to talk about your father, because he seems to have been a very important person in your life.
Good journalism, man. My dad's seen everything I've done, right? And he's very English. Quite reserved. He's not the guy to come and be touchy-feely, talky, or that if I said to him, Dad, I need to talk about something, he'll drop everything. But he's quite English and seen everything I've ever done, and the only thing he'll ever say to me is, Hugh, it was just wonderful work, really wonderful. Every time he says the same thing. Van Helsing, wonderful work, you know.
That's right.
And so when I was doing
fashion show, Hugh, that was great.
In fashion, I never thought I'd be so interested. Poinsettias, thank you. So my dad, I rang him when I was asked to sing at Carnegie Hall, because I was nervous about that one, because I'd done Oklahoma, I'd done a few things in Australia, but I'd never sung in America before, and it was Carnegie Hall. So I was it was like, and I was telling Dad about it, and Dad was, that's when I saw my real dad. He goes, Carnegie Hall? Carousel? He goes, oh my gosh, I'm there. And I was like, oh, this is what happens when you really like something, you know. So he came, and it was a concert version. It was a centenary celebration of Richard Rodgers and Leonard Slatkin with the orchestra and the choir and Audra McDonald. It was an amazing thing to be part of. And Dad took 3 days off work, and now he's a workhorse. I never.
He's an accountant, right?
Accountant from Pricewaterhouse, never missed a day of work that I ever remember, except for these 3. It was a 24-hour flight from Sydney to New York. He was here for 24 hours and 24-hour flight back, straight to the office, right? And I was telling him everything about it, and he needed to know all the itineraries, and told him the dress code was black tie, but actually found out on the day it was not black tie, it was business casual. But Dad was already en route, right? And I was thinking maybe he would have turned up with black tie and shorts or something. He's only here for 12 hours. So anyway, I was telling him about that, and he said, relax, I've got it covered. He said, do me a favor, Hugh. I'm glad you called because I don't expect to see you at all on this trip, but if I could just come and pick you up at your hotel room and walk you to the stage door at Carnegie Hall, it'd mean a lot to me. And that was kind of weird for my dad to even suggest that. He's not sentimental in that way. So I said, meet me at 6:30. He turns up at my door in full black tie. And I'm like, Dad, seriously, it's not black tie. No one, literally no one is wearing black, apart from the choir, okay? Everyone's going to think you're a baritone.
Like the usher.
Yeah. He looked at me right in the eye and he said, Hugh, my son is singing at Carnegie Hall. It is black tie for me. Well,
has he seen this show?
He has seen it in San Francisco, and he came to be with me, and he gets here on Thursday, so he's coming on Christmas night to see the show.
Oh, I wondered if he was there.
Very excited.
I looked around to see. I wonder if when he tells the story, if someone's going to be shedding a tear in the audience, and if that's Hugh's father. But he's going to see it Christmas.
You're going to see it Christmas night. I'll call him out.
Are you going to call? Are you going to call him out and say?
Although I did call him out once when I hosted the Oscars. He came to the Oscars, and like my whole life, he worked for Pricewaterhouse, right? So we'd watch the Oscars in Sydney.
Yeah.
And see these 3 guys with briefcases walk on, right, from Pricewaterhouse. And I'd say, Dad, why can't it be you? Why can't you be on the Oscars? And he'd roll his eyes. I never understood it. But 13 years after he retired, I invited him to the Oscars. And I called him out during one of the commercial breaks. I came out and I said, look, it took me to host the Oscars to get my dad here. And I was calling out to him. I looked down, and he was just staring at Sophia Loren. Like that. I was like, Dad. He goes, huh? What? Stand up. Oh, right. He hadn't heard anything I'd said.
I mean, you did not come from a showbiz background at all. Your father was not in show business at all.
No.
Was he have any hesitations about you entering this field that he thought, how are you going to make a living at it?
None.
I'm an accountant. You have to have a proper kind of a job.
None, and I was a little nervous about it in telling him, because when I decided to go and study for a year, it's an interesting story. I auditioned for it. Let me take you back. My father always took us to theatre. He took us to plays, musicals. I'm pretty sure he loved it, but I think he thought it was part of, raising a rounded child, So we saw a lot more than my friends saw. So he was always into it. My sister wanted to be an actor, and I remember him being not so kind of supportive, but not really. And so I was a little nervous, and I auditioned for this school, and I got in. And when I looked at the acceptance, I didn't realize it was $3,500 for the year, right? And I was like, I didn't know, they didn't tell me that. I was like, and I'd just finished a university degree, which my dad had helped me with. So I was like, I literally kind of threw it in the bin. The next day, my father's mother had passed away, and I was bequeathed $3,500. The next day, I got this check, and I went, now I've got to tell Dad about it, right? And I said, Dad, look, I love acting. I want to just do some lessons and try it out. And I was a little off the back foot, and I was bequeathed this money, which is the exact amount for it. And he says, I couldn't think of a better way for you to spend Mum's money. So that was, right from that moment, I knew that he was very supportive and right into it. And, my father worked like a dog, incredible, loved what he did. He loved being an accountant. He was loved it, every bit of it. And I think he always wished that for us. And he always there was nothing, he was the least materialistic man I have ever met in my life. He would eat all the moldy fruit out of the fridge, because instead of throwing anything away. But he was always extravagant with education, always. And he had 5 kids, and so we went to good schools.
And he raised was he a single parent?
Pretty much. My mum left when I was 8.
So he was raising the 5 kids by himself.
Yeah. I mean, he's an incredible man. He's very much my rock.
Clearly the work ethic that you have. I mean, you don't miss performances.
No,
8 shows a week. We love Elaine Stritch, but Elaine's, she's down to like 4, 4.5 maybe, 5 a week. That's all she'll do. But for you, you're an 8 performance man, because if your job is your job, and you do it.
And I still feel like, compared to my dad, I'm a slacker. You know what I mean? So it's all relative. But my dad set the bar. I mean, look, I have 2 kids. and I'm married, and I have help when I need it. He had 5 kids, senior partner at Price Waterhouse. It was gargantuan.
Who took care
what
of you
he did.
while he was at work?
Me, my brothers and sisters, we sort of did it. He would go on trips and we'd get to go and stay with, friends for a couple of weeks, which was always great. That was fantastic. But basically we did it. It was very regimented. So like discipline, and the discipline of theatre, I actually love. Like the 8 shows a week, I love it. I probably prefer it to a movie as a way of life. Even the 8 shows a week, I really feel like I get into this zone. Because like at home, when I was growing, since I was 8, we had to cook dinner or do the washing or the ironing, or all the jobs were divided up. So every day you got, so it'd be dishwasher or washing up Monday. Tuesday would be cooking dinner. Wednesday would be doing the lunches. It was very regimented because that was the only way Dad could kind of get through it all.
Right.
So the theatre thing is actually when I'm at my happiest. Deb always says that. I'm happiest when I'm in New York on Broadway doing a show.
When your father comes to Christmas, I hope he's going to be wearing a tux.
You know what? I'm tempted to have him wear one too, actually. But he won't.
He won't.
No, because he's English. He won't want to stand out again. No, but...
I'm curious, are there roles in the musical theater that you do want to play in the future?
There are. There's one right now that is burning for me because I fear I'm getting a little old, is Carousel. Mm-hmm. I would love to do that. Ever since I did that reading, and I'm a lover of theatre. I don't sit and listen to a lot of musicals. It's not like I sit and listen to it. So I wouldn't say I'm like a die-hard, but that music to me, that stays in my head. Like it's unbelievable to me. And the opportunity, that's the Hamlet of musicals, I think. So
beautiful Carousel Waltz I love so much.
So I figure that'd be one I'd love to do.
And you're doing Les Mis, the movie.
Les Mis, the movie, which I'm very, very excited about.
When do you start shooting that?
We start shooting in March. We start rehearsals the end of January.
Are you going to have to like do a physical transformation where you
Sure.
starve yourself?
Well, yes, because it's an 18-year period that I take the character. And when we start, he's in a prison camp. So, I've talked to Tom about it. I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve it. He says, look, I need you to be kind of massive like an ox, but I don't want you to look like you've been to the gym. Right. I don't want pecs. Like, who had pecs back there? I understand you'd have legs and maybe here because you're hauling stuff. I say, okay, all right. He says, but also there wouldn't be much food. So you're going to have to be lean here. I'm like, this is going to be, for my genetics, long and skinny is going to be hard. But there's going to be, but the good thing is I'll start there and then I just pork out as it goes on.
Get ready for more X-Men as you go.
Well, listen, it's a delight talking to you, and I'm glad you're having so much fun on Broadway.
Thank you, mate.
Would this show travel? Are we going to take this around? Or when you're done with this, you're going to put it in the trunk and...
Hopefully, mate, if I can write the script for the next 20, 30 years, some version of this show around, and come back here, and I will keep evolving it and changing it. It's my way to keep saying. Honestly, this show, I know I'm going too long.
That's right.
No.
I've been a little bit prisoner to a movie this year, which has been meaning to go and kept getting delayed by a 2-month period. So I couldn't sign on to anything else. And out of frustration, thankfully, this is where I finally kind of put this together. So this is my way of knowing 2-3 times a year, hopefully, that I'll be able to do like 2 weeks to run here and there and keep singing and keep evolving, keep doing things. Obviously, next version of the show, hopefully there's some stuff from Les Mis. I didn't want to preempt it, have someone on
like
YouTube. Like, oh, who needs to see the movie? Here it is.
This is going to be your annuity, though. You lean
Maybe.
times, and when the wolf is at the door, you just trot out Hugh Jackman live on stage.
And I'll have you be my plant.
Absolutely.
Is that all right, mate?
Hugh Jackman's at the Broadhurst Theater. Whatever you can, you should try to get in there, get a ticket. And maybe if you might extend for a couple of weeks. Is that a possibility?
No. I can't extend this one. No, I can't extend because of Les Mis. We start rehearsals and family. Yes.
Yes. I was going to say, if you could, I know the Schuberts. The Schuberts love to crack those ticket prices up and up and up and
right.
up. And up. And I thought if you extend to 1 week, you should tell the Schuberts, I'll do it for another week, but all tickets $38 for everybody.
It's a great idea. It
People would die, but.
No, it kind of kills me. It kind of kills me. I mean, I did try and protect students. I made them have student rush tickets and things like that. I find it hard. I mean, look, I can't tell you how many shows I saw standing room. Yeah. I was, as a student and things like that. And it's hard to see this world of theatre with that kind of expensive ticket. That would have been a good idea, actually.
Yeah, and also I think, though, I mean, you don't want Broadway to become something that are only for the 1%, only for the elites.
Yeah.
If you're only performing for the people who can afford these high ticket prices,
Yeah.
it's not that fun.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you want a young Hugh Jackman there? I mean, some kid who watches what you do and dreams of doing that one day?
Absolutely.
You did.
Absolutely. And a family of 4,
Yeah.
like my dad did.
Right,
You know, because I tell you, my dad wasn't going to buy premiums. He was an accountant. He was like, sure, I want my kids to be well-rounded, but we'll go and see the other one that's on a deal, you know? So, you know, I think it's important for everybody, and it's a little, you're right, it's alienating at the moment. So there is something to be done there. Okay, you got me thinking. All right.
Okay. Hugh Jackman, a great pleasure. Thanks for
Thanks,
being here
Michael.
tonight. It's great fun.
Thank you.
Susan, oh, you want to
Thank
kiss?
you later. Thank you later.
Sounds like he's going to hate me. I have to take my mic
Don't
with me.
faint. Don't faint.
It wasn't an elegant exit, sorry.
She's swooning.
Yeah.
Smelling salts, please, on the set.
Stepping out with my baby. Can't go wrong, cause I'm in right. Ask me where will the day be? Big day may be tonight.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the FREDERICK LOEWE Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.